On behalf of the Australian Education Times, we would like to introduce you to Sean Barrett. You'll probably know that Sean is the head of the Origin Foundation. He completed the inaugural Harvard Business School Humanitarian Leadership Program for senior managers in the NGO sector, and he's also on the advisory board of the Centre of the Mind at the University of Sydney. Let's welcome Sean Barrett and learn some of the secrets behind his success. So Sean, could you please tell us about the Origin Foundation and its role in the field of education?
The foundation was started 4 years ago when Origin, the energy company, put $50 million into a corpus. Unusually, we then asked the employee base of Origin what they wanted their foundation to focus on, and they said education, because they believe that education is the pathway to a brighter future for individuals and for communities.
Okay. So in your personal journey, what was the role of education?
It was critical. I have two brothers and I'm the youngest, and my two brothers had to leave school early because we were a poor family, and they and my parents encouraged me to stay at school. And if I think back, my two brothers went into jobs like bricklaying and manual labour, and both ended up with health problems and injuries, and they never had the opportunities that I had because I had an education. So in my life I've been paid to travel, I've been paid to go to plays and review them, I've been even paid to read books. What sort of life is that? And it's all because I had a basic education.
So you've seen the whole education system work. What would you say are the best parts about it and what's lacking?
I think that the best part of the Australian education system are the teachers. I have met some extraordinary teachers who are inspirational in their approach, and that's why we at the Origin Foundation are investing heavily in helping to improve the skills of teachers. So up until now, over the last 4 years, I think we've helped almost 2,000 teachers to improve their skills, and then over time they in turn will help thousands of kids. If there's a problem in the education system, I think it's that we as a community don't appreciate teachers enough. They are part of the solution.
That's very well said. So what is a typical day for you as head of an organisation?
Our focus at the Origin Foundation is very much on education and good educational outcomes. And so I spend about a quarter of my day reading quite dry policy documents and the latest research on what are the issues in education. And then I spend about a quarter of my day looking for people who are solving those issues and going out and meeting them and probing why their programs are successful. And then I spend about a quarter of my day talking to our existing partners who are working in schools and around schools to make sure that programs are delivering. And then the rest of my time, I'm afraid, is spent doing administration.
So being in a top position such as yours, how did you get to this point in your career?
I think it's a question of realising that you have a core set of skills. So I started out as a journalist, and those skills I then used to become a health campaigner. And those same skills I then used in the business world and then in the world of international non-government organisations. So I think it's getting a set of core skills, but then having the passion to adapt as you go through life, to continue to hone those skills, but have a passion for what you do. And if you have a passion, it's often recognised.
So according to you, what would be some key factors required for success in becoming the head of an organisation or foundation?
Surround yourself with good people. No one person is able to run an organisation. Now, the Origin Foundation is quite small. We're a team of about 5 people. If you look at Origin itself, it has 5,000-6,000 people, and it's no one person can control all of that. You have to have good people around you, and that's the secret.
So looking back through your career, are there decisions that you could have taken differently or gone down a different path, and what have you learnt from them?
I rarely look back. My partner teases me sometimes. If she's bored, she asks me when we met or when we went on holiday, and invariably I get the answer wrong. It's not because I don't care, but I focus on the future. I'm not looking back. And that said, it doesn't mean that I haven't made mistakes and made wrong decisions. I have. I've made plenty of them. But what I've learnt is that it's no use dwelling on your mistakes. You need to learn from them and move on. And the key, as far as I'm concerned, is that you have to make decisions, and sometimes no decision is right, but you have to make the decision. And it's the way you make the decision that's important. It needs to be based upon good faith. And if it's based on good faith and you can explain it to those who are affected by it, that's the best you can do sometimes.
So who has been your greatest inspiration to date?
I don't think that there's one person who has been an inspiration to me. It's a whole range of people, and if I named them, it wouldn't mean anything to you because they're not rich, they're not famous. They're people that have appealed to me, and I have found in them something that is inspirational. And I think the joy of life is that you can find inspirational people around you every day. You just have to spend enough time listening. I think back 2 weeks ago, I went to a dinner and I listened to 6 young people who had graduated from a program we support called Big Picture. It's a schools program, a secondary schools program. And each one of those people were inspirational in their own way. They showed resilience, they showed self-confidence. And as every one of them said it privately afterwards, if they hadn't been through that Big Picture program, they would have ended up unemployed or even worse. And I found them to be inspirational, that they had pulled themselves out of desperate situations. We also support scholarships for the Sir John Monash Foundation, and I remember last year there was a young woman whose great claim to fame was that she's the only AFL umpire in Australia, but she's also an accomplished botanist. There was an RAF fighter pilot, and he used education to get himself out of a very remote community and into the Air Force, flying planes, and now is studying at MIT in the United States. So these people who have found education and used it as a tool, I found incredibly inspirational.
So a leader must be equipped with a set of competencies necessary to perform his role. What would you say is the most important ability to do so?
I think an ability to communicate, an ability to listen, distill and synthesize, and then play back to people in a concise way, often complex ideas, so that you can infuse them. And if we think of the world that we're talking about now, and we think about a good teacher, yes, they have mastery of their subject matter, but they're able to explain it in a simple way. And if we think about what is a successful student, it's somebody who absorbs the information and can then communicate it back in their own words. If they can't, it's just rote learning, and that's not education.
So what would be a piece of advice that you'd like to give to our younger viewers about education and a career that are looking to become successful?
Education is fundamentally important. It may not seem like that to you now, and it may seem as if you struggle to see the relevance, but it is fundamentally important. And my advice would be, find out what you're passionate about and then pursue that. Build your education around what you're interested in, and that way education will no longer be a chore, it'll become a pleasure, and if it's not a pleasure, at least it will be a pathway to reaching your objective, which is a job doing something that you want to do. And once you get that job, be passionate about it. No job worth having remains the same. They all morph into something else. And if you keep learning, you'll be able to morph with those jobs. And what you started out doing many years later may not look anything like what you thought it would, but you will have had an adventure. Every day will have been an adventure.
So that concludes it. So thank you, Sean, for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today, and we're sure everyone watching the video is just as inspired as we are.
Thank you. Thank you.